But he did have an idea. That night, after lights out, he put a plan into action. Quietly, so as not to wake the other inmates, he set about building his suicide weapon. First, he unscrewed the hollow leg of his cot. Next, he tore his pack of playing cards into tiny bits, collecting only the red-colored paper scraps, and stuffed the pieces into the metal tube. Then he plugged one end of the tube with a broom handle, making sure it had an airtight fit. After that, he poured some water into the open end and then placed this strange contraption on the heater next to his cot. Finally, he lay down and aimed the open end of the hollow tube at his temple. And there he waited. Gradually, the water in the tube began to heat up, becoming steam. The steam created a building pressure inside the tube. And when the pressure reached a critical point, the cards shot out of the tube with lethal force, killing the suicidal inmate as surely as if he were shot with a gun. A clever method of self-destruction, but is it really possible to use a deck of cards to shuffle off this mortal coil? This story's been repeated since the 1930s, but San Quentin has been around for 150 years. Plenty of time for many strange tales, both fabricated and real, to take root.
The mystique, I think, goes back to capital punishment and our long, long history of carrying out executions here in the state of California. Back in 1893, when the power of the Criminal Practice Act was passed, and the power of carrying out executions was taken from the local sheriffs and passed on to the prison. I think that is a huge part of why there was such a mystique about San Quentin.
And it's this reputation that makes the legend a bit suspect. After all, if you're going to invent a macabre prison drama, you're going to set it in one of America's most notorious institutions. On the other hand, it's easy to believe that such a bleak place could drive some inmates to suicide. But if someone were already on death row, what would drive them to end their misery when the end is already guaranteed?
One of the reasons why a person would commit suicide on death row is to reclaim some of the control over their own lives that has been taken away. And by choosing their own time to commit suicide, they have a level of control over their own fate.
But to gain such control over his fate, an unlikely weapon had to be created. Well, unlikely weapons turn out to be rather common on death row.
I've had an opportunity to see a number of types of weapons that have been created by inmates. You could take a comb, styrofoam cups, the candy wrappers that go around, those 1-cent candies, melt enough of them together, and you can actually fashion those into a stabbing weapon.
And what about a do-it-yourself shotgun pipe bomb?
Bombs are fashioned from everyday type of materials, paper, magazines, cardboard, and the inmates will take ground match heads, placing them inside of the device, attaching a fuse from torn cloth, and then from there, they now have their explosive device.
And in fact, William Kogut, a lumberjack convicted of killing a woman with a pocket knife, actually created such a device and blew himself up on October 20th, 1930. Instead of match heads, his ammunition was the red ink on his playing cards, which contained cellulose, a fiber from which the powerful explosive trinitrate cellulose is made. Add a little heat from an oil lamp to his ingenious contraption, and the doomed man had the last word on his own fate. Or so the story goes. But does such a device really work? We asked Eddie Serkin, a master at creating special effects out of everyday stuff.
We decided to put the urban legend to a test. And the test was to see whether the combination of the red dye, water, and heat in a pipe would create an explosion.
Once a test target is set up, the experiment begins.
We first started with a pipe. We plugged the end of it. We then filled the pipe with the diamond off of the card, which had the red dye. We then added water. We put a flame underneath to see whether an explosion would happen.
But even with the heat of a propane torch, all we got was some boiled water and a little steam. Why didn't it work? It's because the legend combines two methods of creating explosions that don't work together. Combustion from the red dye and steam, which would extinguish any combustion. For the weapon to work, it has to be modified to rely only on steam.
What we did was we took a piece of pipe and we plugged up one end like we did before, except this time we welded it like it was part of a bedpost.
Then a projectile had to be created to plug up the business end of the weapon, to create pressure in the pipe, and to provide ammunition. The projectile was lubricated with chicken grease, which can be found in a prison, and was then plugged into the end of the pipe. Once again, heat was applied. And the result? Imagine if this were the head of a suicidal inmate. Clearly, if a projectile can be found, a homemade pipe gun is possible. Conclusion? The story is mostly true. A tragic tale of a man determined to play the last hand he was dealt. This story is about a man in a cage, but our next legend features monsters on the loose. True or false? The gravitational pull of the planets can affect human behavior. The answer, when we return.
Nothing takes a beating better than a Stainmaster carpet. So for beauty that lasts, insist on Stainmaster.
You had enough? Huh? Okay.
Ask for Stainmaster carpets and rugs.
I'm a vet, and when my Reggie became less alert and didn't want to play, I gave him a new food, Advanced Protection from Science Diet. It's clinically proven to increase vitality and alertness. Now he's like a new dog. Advanced Protection. More vitality, more alertness in just 2 weeks.
Hyundai's on a winning streak. And during Hyundai's winning streak summer clearance, you can get $1,750 cash back or 0% APR on 2004 Hyundai Santa Fe's. It's the smart-sized SUV with an available V6. And like every Hyundai, the Santa Fe is backed by industry-leading quality that lets Hyundai offer America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. So hurry to the Hyundai winning streak summer clearance to get cash back or 0% APR on the hot-selling Santa Fe.
It's termite season. Terminix them with our exclusive problem-solved guarantee. 1-800-TERMINUS.
Sam! A Cinderella Story is the perfect summer comedy for the whole family. Hilary Duff makes the perfect Cinderella.
You believe in love at first sight?
I'll let you know. Chad Michael Murray is dreamy as Prince Charming. It's a classic fairy tale for modern times.
I am very upset about this.
You don't look upset.
The Botox. I can't show emotion for another hour and a half.
A Cinderella Story, rated PG, starts Friday, July 16th.
On an all-new Rides, Chris Titus is a man who knows his cars, but his wife drives a boring SUV. Well, not for long. Catch an all-new season of Rides, starting Tuesday at 10 on TLC.
This July, Animal Planet is sending 12 people into the jungle.
This is a very dangerous animal.
For the wildest competition on the planet.
I'm not here to make friends. This is a huge game of strategy.
It's a fight for a prize money can't buy.
I don't know if I can do it. Yeah!
To star in an Animal Planet TV show.
All or nothing right here.
But in order to win, you've got to be a real animal.
You guys can all just hate me from now on. I don't care.
King of the Jungle starts July 20th, only on Animal Planet. Living, breathing entertainment.
Here's big news on term life insurance. Matrix Direct now offers quality coverage from American General Life, one of the nation's strongest and most highly rated insurance companies. American General Life will be there when you need protection most. A 40-year-old man can get a $250,000 policy for less than $13 a month. Call now for your free quote. The call is free, the quote is free, and there's no obligation.
Call 1-800-749-2148. Policy not available in the state of New York.
It's Sit and Sleep's Independence Sale, and we're celebrating the land of the free, the interest-free. Buy now and pay no deposit and no interest till 2007. Plus, get the lowest prices of the year with queen-size sets from Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Spring Air, and Miralex. Selling elsewhere for up to $6.99, now just $3.95, plus delivery and a bed frame free. So this Independence holiday, celebrate the land of the free, the interest-free till 2007. Sit and Sleep will beat anyone's advertised price, or your mattress is free!
For TLC's newest Trading Spaces special, Inside Out. We're going behind and between the scenes as we find the cast at home, at work, and at play. Trading Spaces Inside Out, Sundays at 8 on TLC.
Get ready for Help Wanted, TLC's new series where 5 applicants compete for one amazing job. You've never seen an interview like this before. The only way to get hired here is to not get fired.
Well, it is harder than it looks.
It's gonna get tougher.
Help Wanted, next Thursday at 9, only on TLC.
Can the gravitational pull of the planets affect human behavior? No. Because they're so far away, their combined influence is less than that of the TV you're now watching.
Most people who travel love to bring home souvenirs. But sometimes they're not too smart about what they decide to import. And occasionally, that ignorance can come back to bite them.
The story begins with a tourist who loves the desert. The arid air, the desolate quiet, the sturdy wildlife. While on a trip to Mexico, he discovers a rare species of cactus for sale. It's a beautiful specimen. And despite laws restricting the transport of such plants, he decides to bring it back home. He buys the exotic succulent for a hefty $200. Though he's been warned about sneaking plants across the border, there's no way some customs official is going to confiscate his exciting find. So he smuggles it into the U.S. Once in his living room, it becomes his prized possession. After some months, he gives the growing plant its usual morning spray, and to his amazement, it stirs. For a second, he thinks he's hallucinating. When he sprays it again, there's no mistaking. The plant shivers in reaction. Baffled by this, he decides to call up an expert in desert plant life to ask about what he's seen.
Hello. Just wondering if you could help me out. I recently bought...
When he gets hold of a botanist, he explains how he purchased the cactus in Mexico and describes what it looks like.
Well, it's about chest high, probably 4 or 5 stalks on it.
The botanist is immediately alarmed.
Hey, I want you to get out of that house immediately.
He'll be there in 10 minutes.
Get out of the house now. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
All right.
Now totally confused, the man does what he's told. And in no time, the botanist races to the scene along with a strange utility truck. Suddenly, 2 uniformed men step out of the truck and dash into the house. The cactus owner has no idea what's going on.
Very dangerous. Bring out the cactus. We're going to torch it.
Torch it? Whoa,
yes, wait here.
whoa,
No, you wait here.
Then the 2 men rush outside with the cactus and immediately torch the plant with a flamethrower. The owner is livid and demands to know what's going on.
There's a reason we don't smuggle plants into this country.
As the cactus goes up in flames, the botanist says he's lucky to be alive. And he explains that there are reasons why officials don't allow plants to be imported without inspection. The mystery becomes clear as the flames die out. In the embers, they find that the cactus was hollow and is entirely filled with the charred remains of giant bird-eating tarantulas. These huge creatures lay their eggs in this species of cactus, where they grow to full adult size before they burst out in a shower of crawling death. It's a story with legs. But is it real? Or a paranoid fairy tale? At first glance, the story seems incredible. And if it were true, you'd think it would have originated in the American Southwest or Mexico, where the wild cactus is found in abundance. But instead, it first took root in the early 1970s in Northern Europe.
The stories are very popular in Northern Europe, Scandinavia, and in Britain and in Germany. And if it's a cactus, then it would have to be imported. So therefore, it's exotic. It's the fear of the stranger, the fear about things that are brought in from a foreign, exotic locale that is fraught with danger.
Only later did the legend reach Canada and the United States. In the story, the plant is always a cactus or a yucca plant. Some versions have the spiders hatching in the dark of night while the victim is fast asleep. Other versions feature scorpions instead of spiders, and it assumes that the audience finds such creatures especially horrifying, which isn't always the case in all cultures. The plant always quivers slightly as the first sign that something's wrong. And there's a clear reason why the story gets under our skin. The terrifying thought of being hit with a shower of creatures for which humans have evolved primal fear. It's also why they star in another famous urban legend, the story of the woman who wakes up with a colony of newborn spiders in her hairdo. Spiders don't live in human hair, but the cactus legend claims that they live in these prickly desert plants. Well, the fact is, in today's global economy, many creatures manage to smuggle their way into the country, hiding in imported plants, spiders among them.
Well, not too long ago, we did a boat inspection on a freighter, and down in the hold it was carrying bananas. And as we went through all these bananas, you would see spiders running around. And what they were tarantulas. And the tarantulas were actually on board because they had been feeding on insects within the banana bunches before they were cut.
There have been at least a dozen instances over the years where large shipments of bananas have been brought into grocery stores, and inside will be a large tarantula, which of course horrifies shoppers when they see that.
So spiders can hitch a ride on a banana boat, but the legend says they were imported in a saguaro cactus.
The saguaro definitely has a reputation as a desert sentinel. They're almost like a native condominium for creatures out in the desert. A lot of animals and insects do rely on cavities within the saguaro to live out their lives. Cactuses can be host to birds that build their nests in them, and some insects that will lay eggs, or in the larval stage of the insects will start the first stages of their life within a cactus.
But does this mean they can end up stuffed full of giant spiders?
Saguaro, like all other cacti, are mostly water inside. Their stems are very thick and fleshy.
Which means there's no room for a colony of monster tarantulas.
Tarantulas burrow in the ground. They do not burrow in cactus. They don't require any kind of cactus host at all. And they maintain their egg sacs in their burrow. And the egg sacs are so small anyways, it wouldn't cause that undulation, that movement that's been reported inside these cactus. It's just not their lifestyle. There's absolutely nothing to fear with bringing a cactus home, into your home or into your yard.
In the end, the account of a cactus bursting with creepy crawlies is just a horror story. So why does the legend live on?
Human beings as a species seem to need something to be afraid of. They seem to need the fear factor, if you will, in life. Life without the boogeyman just isn't fun.
In this story, a secret menace could threaten one man.
What are you guys
But
doing?
in our next legend, there's a secret that could change the world. True or false? In his youth, George Washington actually chopped down a cherry tree and then confessed to it. The answer when we return.
We're blonde. We're brunette. Our hair is straight and curly. And for millions of us. And for millions of us. It's thinning. Mostly because of heredity. Women's Rogaine can help. Help. It has the only FDA-approved ingredient proven to regrow hair in women. The sooner you start using Rogaine, the better Rogaine works. So take the first step at the first sign of thinning hair. And know in your fight, you are not alone. You're not alone. Rogaine works. The sooner, the better.
I realized that it is a business, you know, and I need to be as efficient as possible, and part of that is taking care of my engine. So that's why I use Chevron with Techron, because a clean engine is, you know, part of my business plan.
Automakers certify Chevron with Techron as top tier.
Dad.
Dad, you know how you want to be everywhere I am? Now you can be.
For a limited time, get Singular Family Talk for just $9.99 a line. And get a cool phone to keep track of your kids.
I call it my "this is so much better" plan.
$9.99 a line. Another reason Singular fits you best.
There's only one place you can get 10 pieces of the Colonel's famous fried chicken and 4 biscuits for $9.99, and that's KFC. Chicken Capital USA.
You're in Chicken Capital USA.
We have reinvented the wheel, reconsidered every part and every system. We have reimagined man's interface with machine by fusing 250 turbocharged horses with a symmetrical all-wheel drive system to create a vehicle that's truly revolutionary. The remarkably powerful, beautifully redesigned Subaru Legacy.
That ought to get your wheels turning.
Right now, lease the all-new Subaru Legacy for just $2.99 a month. See your Subaru dealer for details.
I was confused, and then I got raging mad.
Why would anybody want to steal my car?
When they brought in the truck, I was like, no, that ain't my car. I was super stoked.
What up?
It's really loud.
My grandma drives a better car than that.
My name's Mylan.
My name's Cassie.
My name's Jeff, and I've been overhauled.
My name's Matt, and I've been overhauled.
Overhauling. The owner gets tricked, the car gets tricked out. New season premieres Tuesday at 9 on TLC.
Who's next?
On an all-new Rides. Chris Titus is a man who knows his cars, but his wife drives a boring SUV. Well, not for long. Catch an all-new season of Rides, starting Tuesday at 10 on TLC.
Did George Washington actually chop down a cherry tree in his youth? False. This was a fable made up by author Mason Weems after Washington's death.
Conspiracy theories are frequent themes in urban legends. Stories that suggest there are secret forces at work controlling our lives in unseen ways. Here's one such story that's widely believed because it hits us where we live, or at least where we drive.
In this story, a typical couple has just bought a new car for a big cross-country trip they've planned. After checking out a few models, they decide on a nice, roomy vehicle that the salesman says was a special delivery from the factory. In any case, they're happy with their purchase and start out on their long journey. For a while, everything seems normal, but then they notice something strange. After driving over 200 miles, the gas gauge still reads full. Concerned that the gauge might be broken and not wanting to run out of gas on the freeway, they stop to fill up at the next gas station. But to their surprise, the tank only takes 1 gallon.
Hey, you're not gonna believe this. 1 gallon of gas.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
Me either.
Now they don't know what to think. By the time they get back home, 1,800 miles later, they've used only half a tank, about 9 gallons. They averaged